So Jen, I know you guys have an agenda already set, but I'd like to spend some time talking about a couple of issues that we brought up at the last workshop meeting today, that I think the pro needs to be aware of and comment on.
Okay.
So
Do you want to do
we
that
can
right
do that at
after?
the end or at the beginning. I don't care when you want to do it. I'll be here all night with you guys.
Okay. But maybe we should address it earlier on because maybe it might be repeats of something else that's on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think if we're already live streaming, Don, if you're all set, I will keep an eye out to see if Heather tries to get in. Kyle, do you know if we're missing anybody else?
No, just Heather.
Okay. All right. So we're going to call to order the Franklin Township Pro meeting for June 7th, 2023. The first thing we'd like to do is we're going to approve the minutes for April of 2023 and May of 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of the minutes? Has everybody received the minutes? I guess I should check first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Does everybody approve the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then the next thing I have on the agenda is I just wanted to introduce Bob. Bob, I'm Jennifer. I haven't got to meet you yet. I think we've been texting. You've been in the group text for the pro.
Yeah.
Do you just want to introduce yourself real quick, Bob?
Bob Magnus.
Okay.
I gotta figure out how to put my name up there and take my business name off of there.
Okay. And we're spelling it correctly, right, on the agenda, Macknis.
Correct.
Okay. And how long have you lived in Franklin Township?
32 years.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the pro.
Thank you.
Okay. So do we have any public? All right. So I'm assuming we'll have no public comment, but if no one has an objection, do you mind if I open the floor to Board of Supervisor member, Mr. Gerstenhaber? It's okay. Dave, I guess you're on then.
Yeah, sure. So we had a proposal. We have two proposals in front of the board that we started discussing Monday at the workshop meeting. And both are related to the deer program and hunting in Franklin Township. And I'm going to share my screen. This is probably easier to talk about this. I will preface this that no decision has been made. We haven't put any motions forward. This was a proposal that was put forward and we were discussing it. And I thought that it would be important to bring you into the discussion because you're the pro. And this is part of what you work on and work with. So let me start.
Dave, could I ask who brought it before the Board of Supervisors?
So this was a proposal that Jim and I spoke about, and then I raised it at the board meeting. I can give you a little bit of history. We started talking about trails in Crossan Park, and this was with Matt Thompson, myself, and Jim Johnson, and we started talking about trails. And through that conversation, Jim started proposing, let's start talking about a couple of items. Number one was trail usage in Banffshire, and the other was expanding the deer program in Crossan Park, into Crossan Park. So that, because we can't, and then it became an agenda item, and we brought it and discussed it at the workshop meeting on Monday.
And Dave, when you say deer program, like it's not short for anything. You mean like deer, like hunting?
Deer hunting, that's right. So Franklin Township has a deer culling program, and the way we implement that deer culling program is through hunting in our preserves. Right, so that's the FSA was given hunting rights to reduce the deer population. And so what I want to do today is talk about what those proposals are, and then allow you to make comments, prepare comments when we discuss it again at the board meeting. We don't have any timeline. We don't have any, we haven't made any decisions. The board, as far as what the board, each individual board members want to do, is varying.
I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I can't hear you. So,
Oh, can you not hear me?
I can definitely hear you, Dave.
Yeah,
Dave,
we
I
can
hear you,
I
Dave.
don't know what the problem is with this.
Okay. And so anyway, this was a agenda item, it was put on the agenda. It's really being championed by Jim, and I was the one who put it to the floor. And so the first proposal that they were discussing was Banffshire, that we're discussing is Banffshire Preserve. The proposal simply is during the weeks from, let me bring it up here, November 1st through the middle of December, that can you guys see my cursor okay?
Yes.
So about 6 weeks, this portion of the trail, green trail, and this portion of the yellow orange loop be closed for that 6-week period from November 1st to mid-December, so like 6 weeks. One of the comments was that, Banffshire is a very popular park, particularly with people walking dogs. And one of the things that folks are saying is, or at least the members of the FSA are saying, is that when you're in here hunting, a lot of the dogs are running off leash and they're running through these cross trails, and it's disrupting their ability to hunt in Banffshire. There's also some safety concerns because a lot of these dogs and folks are off leash, et cetera, et cetera. So the point is, okay, well, this is 6 weeks. It's November to December. It's going to have minimal impact on people using Banffshire, because during those weeks, there's probably not very many people, and it'll increase the safety within the park for those weeks. The proposal was such that we wanted to keep the red loop open. That's the big loop open, and the blue loop open if you wanted a shorter walk. And of course, I guess the yellow loop would remain open as well. So that's proposal number one, just closing these two linkages in Banffshire from November 1st to, I don't remember what the date was, Dawn. I think it was December 15th or something like that.
Correct. Yes. Right.
For 6 weeks. So I don't know what the length of this is here, or the length of this trail, but that seems pretty minimal. It'll probably have a pretty minimal impact on people within the park. That was my impression. But I'd like to hear what the pro has to say about this, and then we can move on to the second proposal.
I mean, so were there any other options? Like, I have to tell you, like, I don't normally do the red loop because it's too long. I normally do the orange loop.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a possibility to close just the top part of the red loop and just keep just the section from the green to the top part of the red? I don't.
So I think that there are all options are on the table, right? So, right now, I know we've talked about this. The whole point of this is to come up with different options and what people think. So yeah, to answer your question, absolutely, that's an option. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I just might be considered lazy because we mostly do the orange loop, we mostly do the green loop. I don't normally make it to the top part of the red loop.
Yeah, I don't think that's lazy. So one option would be keep the green loop closed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was gonna say even keep the green loop closed, but just close off the two entrance, like the two where the green meets the red.
Yeah, so this here and that here is where we would close the green loop, and then this here. And so for the orange loop, what we would close is just this piece and that piece. So if you wanted to do the full loop, you could do the blue loop, but It doesn't matter. Yes,
Okay.
we could keep one open and one closed. That is that is an option. So
Okay, and it seems for safety reasons, it would make more sense to leave the orange loop open as opposed to the green loop and then have the hunters up in the top part, but. But anyway, does anybody else have anything to add? Kyle, Paul, I know you guys both use the Bamshire.
So Dave, could we hear, is your second proposal Bamshire or that's closing crossing?
the second proposal is Crossing Park. There is no, right now, there's no plan to close Crossing Park.
Anything, yeah.
So let's stay on Bamshire for a minute. Does anybody
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
comment about Bamshire?
I have a question. Is this going, do they hunt 7 days a week?
No, there's some restrictions. I'm not a hunter, so I don't really know a lot of the details, but I think there is no hunting on Sundays.
Right.
There's some exceptions, but there's no hunting on Sundays.
Like you can hunt the Sunday after Thanksgiving, but it's usually like.
I think there's 3 or 4 Sundays. Maybe
Yeah.
Bob can
Yeah.
speak up.
Yeah, I don't know,
But-
Bob, are you familiar with like the?
Yeah, I think there's only two. There's the first weekend. And
Yeah.
then there's the one where it's the youth program.
Oh, okay.
I think it's 3, isn't it, Bob? 3 Sundays you're allowed?
If they're gonna, maybe this year, but I know it was 2 or 4.
And different parts of Pennsylvania
big
have
game.
specific rules. Like I know in the Poconos, you can hunt the Sunday after Thanksgiving, but it could be different rules for different areas or different townships too. So,
Yeah, I tried to like map out all of the days and dates, and it seems like there's a web of you can hunt with a bow these days and a shotgun these days.
and
But
muzzle loader, like there's different, yeah.
yeah,
So
but
it-
but in Franklin, the only thing we allow is archery and shotgun. That's the only thing we allow.
But
But-
now, would they close it when they're hunting or close it all the time, even when they're not there hunting?
So that is something that we can talk about. So let me just restate, this is not for the entire hunting season. It's just for 6 weeks of the hunting season. And we could have those trails open on Sundays when they're not hunting. I think it would probably be difficult to close them only when hunters are in there, because I think it'll be up to like Jeff or whomever to go in there and put the chains across the trail at the trailheads to say, okay, it's hunting season now.
Yeah, and
But-
my concern is that, somebody forgets and a hunter doesn't realize and it's a wrong Sunday. I guess I'm worried about the safety issue that even if you open them some days, not other days, like that somebody can miss something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's-
mean, it's such a small, I don't know a lot about hunting but it's such a small area. I mean, I know we're talking about closing sections of these loops, but they're not overly big loops. And so, I mean, is really the concern more so like dogs running loose and maybe hunters not seeing them rather than accessibility for the hunters or?
So the primary concern isn't that a hunter is going to accidentally shoot a dog or shoot a person. That usually, I mean, it just doesn't really happen. And the way these folks hunt, it's unlikely. What the problem is that the dogs and the people are running through, this is where the deer bed. And so the dogs are running through here and then the deers just walk over into the field.
Right.
Right.
It's more scaring the deer. It's
Yeah,
I see.
like, so, yeah, I don't want to, because I don't want to overstate, like this really isn't, we're concerned about people being injured. It's more, we're trying to cull deer. We have a deer problem and the people walking their dogs off leash, they're just running through there and the deer just leave.
Yeah, I see that. I got that.
Right, and
Yeah,
so
so
a hunter spends hours ready to shoot a deer and he's all ready and then a dog shows up at the last minute and scares the deer off. Is that the concern?
I think that's one way of saying it. I think it's another way is that, the hikers kind of clear the place out
Okay.
with their dogs. I think it's mostly the dogs that are I don't know. I guess I'm just, this is just
that have
conjecture.
certainly run deer off. So I
Yeah.
I get that.
So I don't want to sound like I'm an expert. I'm not a hunter, but the primary concern is that you're disrupting where the deer bed, and so when the hunters go in there are no deer to cull. They've just moved into the field or wherever they're going to go. And so, and maybe talk a little bit about, like, through all of these proposals, one, I don't have an end situation in mind. Like, I don't have
You have no agenda, like you
I
have
don't have
no,
an agenda, but I also don't have I haven't decided what I wanted to do yet. But my ultimate, I guess I do have my one agenda is I'm concerned about the deer population. Like, that is something, we have the FSA. The FSA is there to cull the deer population. I would like to enable them to do more of that. We have a deer population explosion that I'm seeing, at least I'm seeing it on my backyard, more so this year than.
and just as an aside, the deer between our two houses are not afraid of dogs.
That's true. They're not even afraid of my car. They just watch
Right.
it drive up.
My dog just had a standoff with a deer and the deer did not care. So,
Well, they're practically tame at this point.
yeah.
That's my point, is that I think that's where I would like to see, is like anything that helps them clear out more deer is what I would like.
So
What
Dave,
I don't want to do is anything that doesn't make sense.
So Dave, I want to take a turn. Is that at first it's difficult to absorb all this, like not having it on the agenda. I had no time to prepare anything, so it's a little bit catching me off guard here. But as far as culling deer, Bob, do you know how many deer you shot this year? Not you.
I think we were up around 9.
You're not many.
9
not
for
many.
what? 9 for Bamshire, or 9 for all the parks?
Would have been for the 3 reserves that we use.
There's 4.
Yeah, but we didn't use Goodwin at all this year. We only used Crossan or Franklin, Bannershire, and the Crescent.
So I have a couple comments. One is, if you look around this map, Dave, the shaded out areas, the ones outside Bamshire, to the left, top left corner is, that's the Pearson farm. That's hunted. Just below that to the left is the Hocking farm, which is just off screen. That's hunted. To the right, this whole thing is Keene farm. That's hunted. And then to the right where your cursor is now, that's Stonebridge or Stonegate property and some Hearn property. And I forget the guy's name, Ted, he hunts. So that's all hunted. And then below it, off the screen, is Bob's property. And I'm not sure, Bob, if it's hunted left or right of you, I don't know. But there's hunting all around Bamshire, right? I think the most hunted property in all of Franklin Township is the Hocking property. Everyone goes on there because the Hockings want the deer cleared off because of their crops, which is understandable. So
There's still more deer. I mean, I live in the Stonegate area. We're just inundated with them. It's just.
no one's arguing that. No one's arguing that. But I'm saying, our 3 preserves are something like, 2% of the township. So my point is there's hunting all around the township. So increasing hunting in this preserve, I'm not sure how much difference you're going to make, but I have been impressed with how popular the trails have become, especially since the pandemic. And it's great to see people using them. So.
Well, and I think Bamshire in particular, since the bridge has been put in, I know we've used it a lot more too.
Yeah, so it's kind of surprising that, and the preserve is for the people. And when you say you want to give more advantage to a private hunting club, it surprises me. I thought you were going to come here and say you want to reduce hunting. And to say you want to increase it surprises me, because I think of the whole population, not the 35 members, who, some of which aren't even residents. So I know this is going to make me a bad guy again, and the hunters don't like me, but we worked hard for these preserves for the people. And I don't mind, Bob going in and hunting and the guys. That's fine, but Jesus, to give them more rights and less to the people. And when I was doing those projects in there, whether it's trail maintenance or the bridge, how many people came by, because it was during hunting season, and saw the sign and asked about hunting and turned around. They said, I'm not walking in there. They're deterred. They're scared of using the trails. And I know the hunters don't like to hear that, but that's true. A lot of people won't bring their children in there or their animals or even walk at all in hunting season. We're deterring people.
So Paul, this isn't us versus them or them. I mean, this is about the deer, managing the deer population. I thank God the FSA is here to help us do that, but it's not about making their lives easier. It's about giving, if
No,
they're
I-
gonna be there, it's to get rid of some of these deer.
Let me finish, because
Okay.
I don't buy the argument that it's for the extra culling.
Oh,
So
okay,
you might
well,
get,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, you call me a liar. It's just that's how I view it. So maybe someone
no,
else.
I didn't call you a liar, I'm just asking you to let me finish. So what I see it is, there's hunting all around it, all around the preserve. And you might get 2 or 3 extra deer, I don't know, 3 or 4 last year, I don't know. But I'd want to encourage more people walking, because that'll scare the deer out into the hunting areas. Let's leave the preserves for the people. When we did this hunting, what was it, 8 years ago or something, Bob? I don't know how long we've been having the
I
hunting.
think we're coming up on 11 or 12 years now.
Yeah, I was a supervisor and I called every township in southern Chester County, every one. And we are the only township that allows hunting in their township parks and preserves. Only one. Now there's state parks like White Clay that allow hunting, but they do it on a limited basis where people are not allowed in the area where there's gun hunting, or they assign guys to stands that are away from the trails. It's much more restrictive. Nobody allows the hunting along trails like we do for the full season, which I agree, Dave, it's very difficult to follow because there's muzzleloader early season, youth hunting, archery, and rifle, and there's, or shotgun, not rifle, shotgun. So it's a long season. It's roughly mid-September to what, maybe the end of January, Bob, something like that. So
Yep.
5.5 months with some exceptions in there. I think there's some time off at Christmas and time off Thanksgiving, something like that. 5.5 months of people deterred from using our parks. For 30 and now 35 guys get the advantage of using it. And so when I was a supervisor, I asked a public land management company to come in and value our hunting rights, and they valued them at $4,000. And the board at that time turned that away. And so I know the FSA does a lot of volunteer projects, and we've been having a good relationship, me personally, with them to do projects together. But the value, I don't think, is there to give them more hunting rights. I would rather see less and let the people scare the deer out of the preserve into the hunted areas around the preserve where they can be killed. Our preserve is for the people, not for the hunting. The primary purpose of shooting deer, if you really want to do that, what we have to do is insist on more time in the field. Last time I looked at the hunting calendar, which is public information, we were using our opportunities 4% of the hunting season, 4%. What I mean by an
What do you mean
opportunity
by that?
is
Out of the available days,
out of the
the FSA
available
was only
days,
hunting for 4% of the available days.
well, not a day. An opportunity is a morning hunt or an afternoon hunt. I consider that 2 opportunities per day. And so if you look at how many times guys are signed up, and there's, Bob, maybe you can correct me, I think there's 8 options to hunt in Banffshire, or 7. I don't remember how many people can hunt in Banffshire at one time. How many zones are there?
5.
What was that, 5?
Yeah, 5.
Right.
6.
Yeah. And then maybe 7 or 8 in Franklin Preserve, and then 1 or 2 in Goodwin, and then, a handful in White Clay Crescent. So all in all, I don't remember. It's been years, Dave. I don't want to lie because I know I'm being recorded here, but it's like 12 or 15 spots you can do twice a day. So if you look at all that during all, what's that?
Total and all of the towns.
Yeah, all the preserves. And you look at how many times the guys signed up. And, if they signed up for the morning, I don't know how long they're there. I just consider it, yes, they've used that time, but they probably weren't there for all 4 hours of the morning. And it's 4%. And so when I talk to the other townships who are doing deer management, like real deal deer management in Westchester, especially, they had the most active program where we initially modeled our program after. They actually would have a waiting list, not a private member club, a waiting list of hunters. And the most productive hunters got first dibs at what positions and when, and who spent the most time in the field got first dibs. And guys that weren't showing up, weren't hunting, or weren't getting deer, they were booted off the list and the next guy came in. So, if we really wanted to manage deer, we could get more hunters out there in the field. But I don't think that's the issue. I'm personally not looking to manage them in the preserve. Because as I said, around this preserve, it's all being hunted, and I can do the same thing at Franklin Preserve and White Clay Crescent. They're all being hunted around them. So if this was the only place that was hunted in the whole township, then you got the best argument. You are absolutely right. We need to have more hunting in here. But since it's not, my argument is leave it for the people.
Well, and I don't know if we're increasing hunting. I don't think the number of people necessarily are going to be more. There won't be any more hunting. I think what we're trying to do is say, okay, well, what, you know, as you say, the hikers are disrupting. Your arguments are perfectly valid. I'm just playing the advocate here, saying, well, if we just close these, if you close this trail and you close this trail, now you've got a nice continuous area. There's nobody in there, right? So to your point about hunting really close to trails, well, now we've got a nice open area for those 6 weeks, and they're not going to be anywhere near anybody's trails, right? They're going to be nice in this nice.
But Dave, can I just ask a question? So if you were to close that trail, would that mean that hunters could not be in the rest of the park?
So they're I think well, I don't know what you mean by that. If you close this trail, so the hunting zones will remain the same.
But I guess that's what I'm saying is like, if you were to say, close off the green trail and say then no hunters could go below the green trail.
Oh, you mean like this is their hunting zone or whatever?
Yeah, I'm saying it's like, because I know Paul mentioned it, like that is a huge concern for me. I know it happens in our neighborhood all the time. Everybody's walking around with orange even on the road because they're scared. And I hate to say, like, I think people would get the false impression if they think, well, this is closed for hunting. Some people are going to think that there is no hunting then below. But is that a possibility? Like if you could give the bottom half to the public, and the top half to the hunters and segregate them for those 6 weeks?
So
Yeah,
that's a possibility, but I was thinking of a different trade-off. Like, as I mentioned, even White Clay Creek Park in Delaware and in Pennsylvania, it's different on both sides, and Fair Hill's even different. They closed the park. Let's go to Ridley Creek State Park. Ridley Creek State Park closes the park for 2 weeks, no trails, no public, and only hunters allowed. And to me, that was the best way. As many hunters as they want, as long as they want, and they can use gun and go in there and do whatever they want for 2 straight weeks, and then close it to hunters for the rest of the season and let the people in. So if we were to give up 6 weeks on the trails, I would hope for a trade-off where maybe we don't do muzzleloader or the September, October season or something. You know what I mean? Like you give us back some trails. So, because right now for 5.5 months, we're deterred from using the trails, and you're going to make it more intense.
Right, and I completely agree. I'm completely
So
deterred.
would
from
that be a fair
keeping them.
trade? You guys get better hunting, and I would be all for, let's close the park entirely for 2 weeks and only hunters in there. Like that would be my best. I think that would be great trade-off for everybody.
I
But
think that would be an awesome compromise, and then it would be a lot less work for the township to only just close the bridge in the parking lot. And then it would be so much less.
Like
Yeah.
I have plenty of photos of signs in the White Clay Creek State Park where that's what they do. They post big signs that say area closed for hunting from this date to this date.
How long do you happen to know how long White Clay closes for? Is it 2 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yes, but they don't close the whole park. They close sections because that's a much bigger park. Like this is 62 acres and that's like 1,200 acres. So that's not easily comparable. But I'm just pointing out that they do close the park, but not for the whole 5.5 months. They just close it for a few weeks.
So
and again, I haven't called them in 10 years, so things might be different now.
Yeah. So here we're exploring ideas here.
Yes.
To explore this idea, we have how many parks do we have? You said like there's five areas that we hunt.
5 zones in this preserve is what Bob said.
There's Banashar, Goodwin,
White Clay
Franklin
Crescent.
Preserve. What
Franklin.
am I missing?
Franklin.
So there's 3. I'm missing one.
4.
What's the one I'm missing?
Bamshire, White Clay Crescent, Goodwin, and Franklin.
Right. So is there an option then to say you close those parks completely to people and rotate the weeks that they're closed? Right. So Banashire is closed for, 4 weeks in November, and then Goodwin, Franklin Preserve is closed for 4 weeks in December, and Goodwin is closed for, I think Goodwin and Crescent they don't really get much foot traffic by people.
I think
There-
I think that would be very confusing
Okay.
for somebody that just wants to go out and walk their dogs or go, stretch their legs after Thanksgiving or whatever, to have to
Yeah.
figure out which preserve is open and which is closed. I think that might
Yeah, it's a good point.
annoying.
Well, basically, we don't start hunting till, Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving. You
But
don't-
you're proposing that these two sections of the loop be closed from November 1st through the middle of December. So then we're cutting two sections of, two parts of, the loops of this
Mhm.
particular preserve out for what, 3 weeks when nobody's hunting anyways?
Well, see, that's all bow season.
And you have nobody
We're
doing
not
bow,
in there.
Bob?
What's that?
Nobody does bow anymore?
They do, but it's not heavily hunted. Me, for one, it's just too warm that time of year to even hunt. I don't want to give my
So then
fish.
could you say that maybe instead of, if sections of these loops were going to be closed at some point, it's more realistic to say that that's happening from Thanksgiving through the middle of December rather than, maybe you just don't close those sections for quite as long.
Right.
How about, Bob, if that's true, how about this? Like, I think it was Dave just mentioned, White Clay Crescent and Goodwin don't get much foot traffic just because we haven't put the trails in, right?
Right.
How about you continue to hunt them full season as you are, so that can satisfy your bow hunters if you have a few. And then you can take away these trails for the 6 weeks, but in return, you open up Banffshire to walkers and no hunting for the muzzleloader and bow season. So that way, we're only deterring people from Banffshire for a shorter window, which is November, December, January, 3 months instead of 5.5 months.
And Paul, when I think to Andrea's point is we wouldn't really need to close down Banffshire until Thanksgiving because
Yeah.
and it's colder. It'll be colder then, so less people are probably going to be hiking after Thanksgiving. But
Well, when's gun season start? Isn't it after Thanksgiving?
I
Yes.
think it starts that Friday.
Yeah, that I think we can work something there where you give us something where you don't post it as hunting is now in season on September 15th. If no one's using it, we're deterring people for no reason, so.
That's a good point. First of all, I'm sorry, I completely hijacked your meeting today.
No,
So I apologize for that. But one of the comments, and I think Bob just said it too, about last season when I was kind of complaining about the lack of hunting or lack of deer calling, that they were saying, well, yeah, we don't hunt in September and October anymore because it's too warm. Right. And so the deer aren't moving around and
Hey, well, that's great.
it might be a point to say, well, the system, we may not need September and October. Right.
And November because it's bow.
Well, half in November, so after Thanksgiving. Oh, yeah, I guess it's towards the end of the month.
Yeah. Again, this is, and again, we're Bob's here. I know he's a member of the FSA, but I don't know if Bob has even seen this before tonight either.
Yeah.
So he might be.
This will be discussed at the board meeting. So it's not this. We're not making any we're not making any decisions. It's more an awareness on your part, gathering information and come.
So
If the one thing you could bring to the board, Dave and Donna, is that we have heard from multiple people that they are concerned to hike in Banffshire in particular, because it's hard to tell where the hunters are. And also, I think it goes back 2 years ago, Dave, that, I think it's been fixed, but the FSA was not very good at maintaining their website to let people know where the hunters were. And also, I don't think people even really understood that website existed. I've lived here for years, didn't know until I was a member of the pro that website was even an option. And some of the signage has not been maintained by the FSA to let people know where the hunters are.
But we also have a bulletin board there with the map, and that's where you have to hang a tag.
Yeah.
Right, but what we had discussed is people don't want to go all the way out to the park and then find out. We should be able to let people know before they go to the park.
We need to do a better job of posting those instructions at the park and on the website saying that there's this option to look at the calendar. We used to have it out there. I personally put it out there, but it had been removed the first month I put it out there. So that would be good to have, Jennifer, to help inform the public, because as you said, you didn't even know about it.
I did not know about it until I was on the pro that it was even an option. So, yeah, so I mean, if I would suggest, I mean, Dave, if it's possible to say, you know, what if after the Monday, the 27th, to Paul's thing is maybe then, you know, you close Banffshire. Is that what you're suggesting, Paul? Maybe that Monday after Thanksgiving?
No, close these trails.
These trails, like close the whole
green
park?
and the green, no, the green.
Oh,
and
okay.
orange.
Just those
That's-
two sections.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
just-
not saying close, if you close the whole park for 2
Then you want
weeks,
something back.
for 2 weeks, I'm fine with that, 2 weeks, but not for 6 weeks, because those 6
Right.
weeks just
I
those
would-
two trails.
I would suggest it just
Honestly,
for
it seems
two-
like such a small area to, I mean, I just can't imagine that you're really going to kill that many deer in that small section, that it's really going to be that impactful. But, and for people to lose the ability to, you know, hike those sections and for safety reasons or comfort rather. I mean, I don't really personally see the point of it. I don't think it would be that helpful, but, you know, that's just my opinion.
But it could be worth a try, and then you could see if what increase there was. So
You
I think
could,
it-
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other option to Donna's point is none of this is permanent. We're not getting rid of these trails. We try it for a year, see
Well-
what happens, and if it worked, then it worked.
Well,
If it doesn't, we'll
Dave-
go back to keeping it open.
No offense, but like, we have Jim Johnson on the board, and next year we'll have Jim German on the board, and we have Bob as a pro member. Like, it's not going backwards. Like, it's not like you're.
Yeah, that would be very difficult, I think, to undo. I
Right.
think, I mean,
Mhm.
Right, and then my other thing. is
once they have access, it's how do we, as the residents, get it back? But you don't.
Yeah, the
And then if
camel's
the-
in the tent.
And Paul, maybe you can answer this question. If the trails are not used for 6 weeks, is that going to make these trails overgrown?
No, not in the fall. In the
Not
fall,
fall,
it's
okay.
fine because there's no growth in the fall.
Okay. I just personally think 6 weeks is too long and it doesn't seem reasonable, but
yeah. I guess I don't know where we're getting the 6 weeks from. I could, maybe I'm not here. I thought it was before
It was
Thanksgiving.
November 1st through middle of December is what we were originally
So
told.
the original proposal was this green line and the orange line were closed from November 1st
Okay.
to the middle of December. So that was where the 6 weeks comes.
I didn't pick up on the first. I thought it was the 15th to the 15th. So that's.
No,
thank you.
it's-
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
and so, and then now kind of what we're saying is
Gun season.
yeah.
and I would still argue just to close just the green trail, but that would be just me. I know, you know, I think just as a
I mean-
compromise, but
Yeah, I mean, to Paul's point, there was hunting all around that preserve, and so I hate to put. It sounds like there are already hunters in there, anyways. I hate to add access for them so that for the safety of people and their comfort level during those periods. But
Yeah, this, I like I said, this is the people's preserve.
yeah, I would rather, it not be closed at all, but if it is, or I mean, obviously it's not going to be up to us, but
Yeah.
it just seems like it's too long.
Well,
But
I would hope for a trade-off, Dave or Bob, where you can give us back bow season. And then you can have those two trails during gun season. I think that would be a decent compromise, but
What do you mean by give back bow season?
no hunting in the preserve. Bob just mentioned that few people hunt bow and even fewer hunt because it's warm. So
Okay. Oh, so you're saying no hunting
At all.
in September and October.
in November, because gun season starts after Thanksgiving.
See, most of my hunting is after Christmas because of my life and business and travel and everything else.
Well, Dave, most hunting deer culling programs require a report from the hunting club showing how many hours each member spends in the woods and where. And we never get that. And, I did it personally from their calendar, but maybe we could ask them for a report. How many people hunted in September and October last year and November?
Mhm.
And make some educated, informed decisions with data. And so, they're saying, oh, we're giving up too much. And maybe you've got a handful of guys that really like bow season. And I'm offering that they can go to White Clay Crescent or Goodwin where there is no foot traffic.
Problem with the Crescent is you need a 4-wheel drive to get up there.
And Paul, I know it's not in our township, but like, I mean, Eric is a bow hunter, but he hunts in the state park. Like, I just think that seems more, I don't know, he says that's like better park for hunting for bow. So it seems
Well,
like,
it's a big area, and the Hawking Farm, I can't speak for the Hawkings, but I understand they let a lot of people hunt in there, and if they're really dying to hunt, maybe they could ask the Hawkings for hunting rights there. But I don't want to speak for them.
okay. Dave, do you want to show us the next park? I think you kind of know what our point is.
Yeah, and again, I think we're gonna continue talking about this, and we're going to the board meeting. Is it next week, Don? I think it's next week.
Right.
Talk about this again. And so we're trying to come up with what the motion is, whether we're going to do something or not, and what it is we're going to do. So the next one is Crossan Park. So the proposal was a lot more dramatic than what we're talking about with Banffshire. So right now, we have hunting in this yellow zone here. This is Franklin Preserve. And the proposal was to have shotgun hunting allowed in this northern section, shotgun and archery allowed in this northern section. The reason being is for the shotgun, I think, is that because it's wet down here, people just generally don't spend a lot of time in this area. And the other part was to allow archery on the eastern woods here along Crossan Park.
Jesus.
That's just,
I mean, I walk my children back there. I would be,
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is just completely.
It's a park. It's not even a
It's
preserve.
not
It's a
like
park.
hunting. I mean, people play there with their children. They walk with their children, their animals. I mean, it's not, I mean, I'm a hard no on this one.
Yeah.
Absolutely
just say,
agree.
Dave, I just feel like this is right across the street. This is across the street from Mary's neighborhood, correct, Mary? And all those people from that
Oh,
neighborhood
yeah.
go into
It's
this
bad
park.
enough that people hunt in the preserve. I can't
Mhm.
imagine hunting in the park.
And then we're asking people to put work into the trails and to clean up the trails. And it seems like it's just becoming a private hunting ground.
Okay, I have something to say because Donna and I both said that hunting in the park was probably a no-go. I'm an advocate for the park. Preserves are preserves, and Donna D and I both said that hunting in a park was a no-go. So that's Donna can say for herself, but that was our stance on that. So let's go from.
Oh, Don, you just muted yourself.
Yeah, I think David was just trying to give you the full picture. So
No, and
Yeah, I'm
Dave-
not.
Dave-
So I'm.
Dave, I'm
Let me
sorry,
be very clear. I'm not advocating.
I know. I'm sorry, Dave. We do not mean to come at you so
Yeah,
strong.
we
No,
I know
did come
you're
at
not
you
even a
strong.
hunter.
Sorry
Please.
about that.
Sorry,
That's
Dave. You're not
totally
even a
fine.
hunter.
That's completely fine. This
We just
is why I'm
completely-
here, is to have this
We
conversation.
completely shot the messenger and about deer season. So I apologize, Dave. I'm so sorry, but
I'm not. Yeah,
I think you just got 3 moms who were like, "What?"
It's not. Look. So we had the conversation yesterday. Monday.
Monday.
And, I don't even know what day it is today. And all those concerns were raised. The nature of this area is very different from the nature of the preserve. One of the conversations that we did have is that people were the board was less concerned, not that they weren't concerned, but they were less concerned about this northern area because people don't tend to be back here.
And my only point to the northern area, Dave, is we as the pro have been really trying to put work into it. We've been trying to find solutions, and I feel like that would discourage us and maybe even the public from trying to repair those trails if it was given up to the FSA. And Paul, maybe you could speak to that.
And I just want to make a quick note that I'm trying. So there's 3 of us there's 3 supervisors here on this meeting here. So I can't really deliberate and talk about my
No, I
opinions
agree.
and back and forth. I really can just tell you what we've talked about. I'm not trying to be weaselly, but there's some sunshine issues that we want to make sure that we stay clear of. So if I'm not giving you my opinions too much or
No,
going
no,
back
I
and forth,
appreciate that.
I can't.
You're delivering the message. That's it.
I'm happy. We'll talk about it in the board meetings and we'll talk about it. But I just, I have to be careful.
Okay.
Donna,
Paul, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I want to point out the same thing, that on the left of this picture is the Pico property, and that's hunted. And then to the north of the yellow is what I call the DeAndrea property. I don't know the new owner's name, but he bought it as a hunting ground for him and his boys,
And then to the, Paul, to the northern part, that is part of the park. To Dave's mentioning.
I'll get there.
Part. Okay, go ahead.
And then north of that northern part is the vineyard, and that's hunted. So to the right, not so much. Those are smaller lots, smaller properties. Down at the bottom, Dave, to the right is the Schmidt Tree Farm property. Yeah, and more to the right. You can see the grass there. That's the beginning of the Schmidt Tree Farm, but they own those woods where you just are. That's heavily hunted because that hurts their trees. So again, we're surrounded not on all sides like Banffshire, but there's hunting around the preserve. So as far as the northern part, I want to do the opposite, Dave. I want you to propose next week that our trails are becoming very popular. The bikers have put a lot in, that we should reduce the hunting during bow season. And that if the hunters aren't using it and we're deterring people, let's give it back to the people. And as far as the north section, Dave was kind of moving his cursor around a lot there. I'm not so concerned about north of the creek, right? Like closing the bridge, I could trade off for something, but not south of the water. South of the water is used. The only thing I'm a little hesitant in saying that is, I'm trying to be fair and give something if they give us up bow season. But the only thing I'm hesitant of is I see people using that pasture across the bridge as like a dog park. Like people go over there and throw the stick for their dog.
this right here.
Around, yeah, that right there. There's no one around. There's no kids playing. It's a safe space for the dog. And because we require dogs on leash everywhere, and that's kind of a safe area for them. And I wanted to designate it as a dog park, saying, not fenced, at your own risk, your dog run away. But because of the water and the bridge, it kind of separates them from the rest of the park. So, but the area below that is what I'm saying, Jennifer was saying, I agree with, is we're trying to make that usable again and make it work for us. And yes, it's an absolute wet mess, but I think it's too close to the activities.
Okay.
So yes, when you have your meeting Wednesday, please make the counter proposal that we'd like to get back bow season for Franklin Preserve and Banffshire, not for Goodwin, not for White Clay Crescent. And I'll challenge you to call any other township in southern Chester County and ask who allows hunting in their parks or preserves. Right? I challenge you to do that.
No, yeah, and I'm aware that we have a pretty unique situation here in Franklin Township, right?
Like think of Goddard Park, right? When I called them, they said, "What are you freaking crazy?" Like that was their response to me.
Can I ask a question? Maybe this is too political, but I mean, so like the Board of Supervisor members attend the pro meeting, and I understand, like, we're at the discretion of the Board of Supervisors. Does anybody from the Board of Supervisors attend? I mean, obviously, other than the Board of Supervisor members, but is there like an outside person that attends the FSA meetings, or are they private, or?
It's a private club. You're welcome to attend, but it's a private club.
But you have to be a member to attend the meeting?
No. They're very open about it. No, okay. Dave's been to a meeting.
Okay, I'm just curious. Yeah, like,
And who invited the FSA? And I'm sorry, this was before I was around. Who invited the FSA to hunt in our preserves?
That's before my time.
Eric Brindle. He was a supervisor at the time. And
Paul, that was all part of the charter, right? I mean, the charter was created and that's how it came to be, correct? Isn't that? It was voted on by the board, correct?
Yeah, I don't know the history.
Yes, correct. I don't think I need to go into the whole history, Andrea, but
I was just curious.
There was a board member who was a hunting advocate. We had just got the preserves and applied the same rules as Crossing Park. We took the Crossing Park rules and put them on the preserve and said no hunting. And, it was, more than that, no motorized vehicles on the trails and all the rules at Crossing Park we said. And Eric got a hunting club together, and he was the president, and he was on their bank account. And we told him that wasn't allowed. We can't have a board member on there. So he got away from it, and the club separated from the township, but it's a private club.
Right, but I just want to be clear, there is a charter for it. We update, I mean, we just agreed to
So-
have
so
the
it's-
charter again, so.
It's interesting.
It's
Wait,
not just
wait.
going on its own. I mean, I just want to be clear that it is, they have a charter. We have to up that charter or agree to the charter, whatever the right words are for it every year. And they're not doing it in darkness or anything. They're very visible with what they do, and I just want, there's nothing nefarious about this.
Well, I'm not saying it's nefarious, but I guess my only question to that, Don, is there members of the Board of Supervisors who are also members of the FSA?
Yeah, Jim
Yeah,
is.
Jim Johnson, and Jim German.
Well, Jim
Jim
German's
German's not a
on-
supervisor.
Yeah,
But he was on the pro, right? Okay. So does that seem like a conflict that there's a Board of Supervisor member who's also a member of the FSA?
not to me. I don't think, just in case, say you ran for a Board of Supervisors and you were on the pro, I wouldn't think that was a problem, but maybe
So-
I'm
so
wrong.
Our attorney at the time, the township attorney at the time said that that there was no value given. And so when the other group came in and said there was $4,000, that became a material value. And it was more difficult for the board member to vote for anything having to do with the FSA. So it'll be interesting to see if Jim votes for this next week.
Yeah, and I guess that would just be my concern as an outside perspective that Dave, for Jim to participate in this, because obviously it also benefits this private organization he belongs to.
Yeah, I guess I don't see, we can just differ. I just see this is about controlling the deer population. I don't see them. I don't know where this value of $5,000
And I'm not saying a value, but it definitely is a value to his hobby, to his particular interest. That's specific.
Yeah, I look at it as a service that they provide to the township. So it's just.
Well,
a difference
Donna,
of
the
opinion.
value is that if they had to pay for hunting rights somewhere, it's a lot of money being this close. Like if you went up to the Poconos and, belong to a hunting club, maybe Bob can say what the value might be, but it costs money. And to have it right here in your backyard, it's quite valuable.
And as I said, I see it as a service that they perform for the township, along with
understand.
their other volunteer work. But so it's just a difference of opinion. I won't believe
Right.
it.
And I guess if it was more open to more people, because it seems like it's very hard to get into the FSA, if it was something that it was open to everybody in the township, and in particular, not people who are outside of the township who are also able to be members of the FSA. But if it was, I guess, more open to the rest of the public in Franklin Township, but it seems like it's like an exclusive club, and he's also a member of the Board of Supervisors.
Well, actually, it's not exclusive. You came on a list.
Yeah.
A charter of 35 people, and that's what we.
That's the charter, right? That's not your fault. That's the charter we gave you.
No,
Correct.
that's not true.
It's not, where'd the number come from, Paul?
The number is 30, and then the FSA decided to increase it to 35. But
But we had to get permission to do that, and we
With
did.
the board's approval.
Yeah, you had to get board approval, right?
no,
Correct.
but I think you guys are mixing two things up. So
Okay.
Donna, as you said, every year you have to give them permission. It's a permit. It's a hunting permit for the club.
Right?
But the club could be any club. Like Jennifer could form a hunting club and come oppose them and say, I want hunting rights. So Jennifer, I'm answering this is, it is open to the public if you form a club and apply for the permit. So that's only happened one time. But you'd have to form a club and then ask for the permit. That's why we renew it every year.
So, but that's not but the limit to the number of people in that club is limited for the FSA. Like they only have a certain number of people. Like we could open it up and say, all right, we'll allow they have like 32 hunters, and the board could say, all right, well, now you're gonna have 50 hunters, or you could have 100 hunters, or
Yep, and I'm sorry, I don't remember, Dave, but there was specific restrictions on, you had to have a safety test every year.
Yep.
You know, you had to do, and when John was in charge, he got rid of all that. So Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no more safety tests, there's no more qualifications. There was a few
Right.
things that we copied from Natural Lands Trust to make it a safe hunting club.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Every year we did
eliminated.
every year we did a proficiency test.
But not this year because of the cost of ammunition or something, right? Bullets or
Correct.
something.
For retest, not. but if it
And
was a-
I know Donna disagrees with me, but does anybody else think that there's a conflict? That a board of supervisor member is going to be voting on something that enhances the club that he's part of?
I think that's a pretty big conflict, honestly.
I
It's like,
agree.
I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but it's kind of self-serving in a way. And I don't think that's really appropriate.
I mean, I don't think Jim will be able to see the forest through the trees. I mean, whatever that saying is, and excuse the pun because of all the trees, but I feel like he's just not going to be able to see it because he's going to see that this benefits his group.
No, I agree. I think it's a conflict of interest. I'm not anti-hunting. I'm not anti-gun and none of that. I think that,
Yeah.
Hey, and I want to, Andrew, that's a good point. I'm a gun owner. I'm not anti-hunting. I just feel there's so much hunting in the township that I wanted to keep the preserves for the people.
I
That's
agree.
that's
and
where
I am married to a hunter, and I asked him, did he want to belong to the FSA? And he said he felt like it was a conflict. Even that I was on the pro, he didn't want to put his name on the list for the FSA because he thought it was a conflict. And he also said, like to Paul's point, there's farms he hunts on, and he hunts at the state park. There's so many areas he does not miss an opportunity to hunt, but certainly not to take away parks. So. But anyway, okay. Dave, do you have anything else? I feel like we're dragging it out. You kind of
no,
know.
I mean, look, this is, and again, I apologize. I know I hijacked the first hour of your meeting.
No, and I apologize that we attacked you.
No, I don't feel attacked. Look,
so
I don't feel attacked. My job here was just to let you guys know this is what we're talking about. I want you to be passionate because that means you care. And I need to have options, right? Because I'm trying to decide like what, for my own sake, what I want to do. The board, I know, Donna and Dawn and I have had conversations. We had this conversation on Monday openly about this is complicated. This is not something that you just do. And we wanted to make sure that we have this conversation. And again, we're going to continue the conversation next week. So please come. We're going to have, what I've started doing, particularly on items like this, is have special public comment sections. So you open it up, the board will deliberate, and then when we're done talking, we open it up and have people talk right after. So we really need, for this, I think we need to have more voices involved so we can get it right and do the right thing.
so
Just a reminder, this meeting will be on June 21st, not next Wednesday, but. the
Oh, I'm
following
sorry.
Wednesday.
Oh, okay, so I got that wrong too. I'm sorry. God, I'm way off.
Yeah, I guess.
Thank you.
So could I make a closing comment, Dave, is that for Donna especially, that if culling deer is your priority, then we need to get the hunters out there during those opportunities or condense the season where we can give it back to the hikers and bikers during archery. And when the real culling happens during shotgun season, we insist that they hunt more than they are currently.
I think that's a good option. I mean, Paul, I think that's a good option to present.
Like if culling is your true priority, then let's
That
get
isn't-
people in the woods, not give them 5.5 months and they're not in there all the time. And it sounds like from what Bob says, it's not a big deal because not many people are hunting archery. So I think it's a fair ask that as the parks get more popular, let the people have it.
Thank you, Paul.
Dave, can I just ask one more favor? Could you possibly, or have Jeff send these 2 maps to the pro members just so we have them?
Mhm.
Because I'm assuming, just to jump ahead, Jeff, you're going to want us to have something prepared for you, not necessarily on this, but before next Wednesday, because that's when the book gets made up, and then the meeting's the following Wednesday, correct?
Correct. And just keep in mind, these 2 maps are on the website, so you can download them.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. All right. So if I think we're all set with that. I'm just gonna try to run through this because we are an hour into the meeting. We're just gonna go to the agenda. Does everybody have the agenda in front of them?
Yes.
I
We
do
were
not.
on old, I'm sorry, Paul. Okay. So it said old business. If we could just get a quick update, Donna. I'm sorry, Dawn.
Dawn,
on
Dawn's the
little
queen,
library-
yeah. This is her
Yeah.
thing.
The little libraries, the healing gardens, and the signs for the healing garden and meadow, and then also the status of the arbor by Owen. If we just make it really quick, that would be awesome.
I'll make it really quick. This is Dawn. The first Friday of the story time was amazing. It was attended by the new director of the Avon Grove Library, David Payne. We had 50 people, 25 children were involved, 5 were in strollers. It was amazing. I hope you all saw the pictures. It was spectacular. He was pleased. I was pleased. Everybody was happy. And the new libraries, thanks to my best buddy here who made the little libraries. I can't thank everybody enough for Bob Mangus and my little libraries. I showed a picture of the first mommy and son doing the little libraries, so it was spectacular. And David Payne said he would be able to provide people for speakers if we wanted to do the pollinator garden, the bees, all this stuff over at the healing garden. He would pay people to come and be speakers for different programs. So I was over the moon with everything. Also, I have our blueberry boxes now. Jennifer, I can't, oh gosh.
Cutting out, Dawn?
Yes,
Can you hear us?
yes. Amy-
Was there anything else, Dawn?
Yeah, Amy Carletti, Noji, is Greg's friend he went to school with. She's doing the bluebird boxes for us. So she went over and numbered all the bluebird boxes so that we can do a bluebird trail. She's already started finding out what's in the bluebird boxes, and her husband's going to take them down at the end of the season and make them so they open so we can do all the thing for the bluebird boxes. So we are so excited about all of that. So I want to thank everybody that's been involved, and I'll let you know soon. Okay, what's up?
Okay, and thank you so much, and thank you for the bluebird boxes and the little libraries. They're awesome. They're so cute. Do you have anything to add? Have we heard about from Owen, the Boy Scout?
I sent a thing out to him today. I haven't heard from him yet, but I'll let you know as soon as I know something with his schedule.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So for the-
How about the signs?
Oh, yeah, the signs.
Oh, we have brand new signs. Tomorrow we're gonna go over. We're planning a fall fun day for September 16th. We're gonna go over, Stefan is gonna go over with Stacy and myself and Veronica to meet with the Penn Township ladies at the park to set up our fall fun day. And Jeff's gonna come out, we're gonna tell them where the new signs go for the part,
The two signs that you would design, Kyle,
I'm sorry, thank you.
the two signs that you designed, Kyle, with the pro committee and Greg.
That's
Sachs.
right. So,
Okay.
They're
And then-
in.
And they're
So-
in? Okay, great. Thank you.
So if Kyle would like to come, we'll be there at 9:30 tomorrow morning. If Kyle would like to come over tomorrow.
I think Kyle's at the beach, but
Oh, well, we'll put them in a good spot for her.
and if you could send pictures and share that to the website, that'd be great, Jeff.
Oh, you bet.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
thank
thanks,
you.
Dawn. Thank you, everybody else. Okay, so just going along to the Canadian thistle. I had it on the agenda and then I updated it. Jeff said that it was all done and that there was some communication, but they finally got a hold of the gentleman from Red Tail. Right, Jeff? You said that's all done, right?
Correct.
Okay, do we need a future contact, or can we make this a maintenance issue if this isn't too much on you, Jeff, to keep up with Red Tail and the Canadian thistle?
We can make it a maintenance issue. There was a problem and it was a computer glitch between Greg Sachs and Red Tail. For some reason, Greg Sachs's emails ended up in their spam file folder. So I contacted them. He was very apologetic. He went out and did the work. It was fine with Greg and we got it done.
Okay, does anyone have an objection if we just make this a maintenance issue, if that's okay with do I
No.
need to bring this to the Board of Supervisors?
Let's let Jeff do that. If it's a maintenance item like trimming the bushes or something, I think he can handle
Okay,
it.
all right,
But-
so then we'll
but
keep
I-
up with it.
I just want to say one thing, Jeff, is that maybe keep an eye on it. Like they might need to come out twice this year, or maybe next year, none at all. Like we just can't assume they need to come out and spray.
I
Somebody-
agree.
Somebody who knows a little bit about what it's supposed to look like, which isn't me, go out there and take a look and decide when it's needed and how often and stuff like that.
Well, what I would end up doing is talking to the gentleman from Red Tail.
Yeah.
I think we have a pretty decent relationship with him.
Yeah, and since
Have him-
Dave Hawking mows it, get his opinion. Is it looking good or does it need more spraying or, is he satisfied with the thistle? Because I think he was the one that had commented about that there's too much thistle.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
And speaking of, I guess actually it's not Hawking, but the poison hemlock. Speaking of mowing, I think I talked to Jeff earlier and we're thinking that we might need to increase the mowing schedule or start sooner for the poison hemlock. Can you speak to that real quick, Jeff?
Yeah, and Paul's gonna ask me, and I don't know the exact acreage, but I'm gonna say somewhere between 5 and 8 acres roughly, was full of poison hemlock. So that's been cut, that's gonna stay and lay where it is. And after talking to Kenny Roberts, Andrew's father-in-law, he had suggested that next year we cut it in April to get ahead of it.
So,
So we don't have to deal with spraying with chemicals.
yeah, Jeff, I thought he would mow whenever is best. Like, he should not wait for us to tell him. It's when he thinks it needs to be mowed for sure, because he would know better than us, that's for sure.
Right. Well, we're going back to that because before we were only allowing them to do it once a year. So we're going back to twice a year.
Yeah, but even so, I agree, that's what happened. But at last year, when we saw the poison hemlock take off, even Greg Sachs agreed they just need to mow it as often as they need to in that section.
Yep.
Get rid of it. So
Yep. That's how we're going to manage it going forward.
great.
And I know this is not a pro issue, and I don't know if anyone's noticed, but like it's taken over Walker Road, Dave. I don't know if you've seen it. Is this something that the township's going to address in other locations?
Well, if Dave doesn't mind me talking first or giving my thoughts,
I am not qualified at all.
No, and I'm just, and
Go
I only just
ahead.
relating, and the only reason I tell you, Dave, is because it's on Walker.
Yeah.
The next place it's gonna be is on Johnson, the next place it's gonna be is in everybody's backyard, so if Jeff could comment.
yeah,
Yeah,
if Dave doesn't mind me commenting, we are going to step up our roadside mowing. That's going to start again tomorrow. But every place I've been, and I know we all travel outside of Franklin Township, the poison hemlock along the roads is incredible. It's exploded. So we can do so much, and that will be within the right of way on the road. So instead of doing 4 roadside mowings this year, we may need to do 6. But they're going to be out there tomorrow. And barring any equipment failures, they should be done within 7 to 8 working days.
Okay, and that was just, as a member of the public, I was just concerned that it's gonna wind up in our backyards.
They-
We could,
Yeah.
it could, but and I mean this with all the respect in the world, we can only do so much.
No, I agree, and we appreciate you keeping up with it.
Jeff, could you just inform me who's doing the roadside mowing this year?
Jim DeRazio.
Okay, good.
Okay, if we could just move on, we'll move on to Bamshire. Paul, have you had any luck getting a trail machine? I know we
Oh,
keep
no,
putting.
I forgot about that. Matt was trying to get one from the Delaware Trail Spinners, although they have a new name now. And I hadn't heard back from him, so let me bug him again. I know this is Matt's very busy season. He's in landscaping and turf management, so he probably has other priorities, but I'll bug him.
Okay, and if it's something that, maybe if it's even better done in the fall, I'm not sure.
No, it's better done now. And so for all those of you who maybe weren't on the last meeting, is I called the rental places to get a trail machine, which is a little miniature bulldozer. It's 3 feet wide. And the key is it has a 6-way blade, meaning most machines can raise up and down and tilt front and back. I don't know if you can see my hands. And this machine also has the ability to tilt side to side. And that's the absolute most important part, because if you're going on the side of a hill and your machine can't tilt side to side, your trail can't be cut into the side of the hill. So it's a unique machine, and Gap Rental used to have them and they don't have them anymore. So I have not been able to find one. So Matt suggested I borrow one from the Trail Spinners. So that's the problem.
Okay. And if anybody else has any leads or knows anybody who has a similar machine, please reach out to Paul. The
If someone-
signage. We had talked about the parking signs. I have to be honest with you. I don't know if we finished that or if anybody heard anything about and the signage but the big sign I think Jeff had said has been ordered.
Let me take your last question first.
Okay.
The big sign has been ordered. It is in production. I am hopeful, don't hold me to it, but I'm hopeful in the next 2 weeks it'll be up.
Okay. And if you could just make sure you communicate to us, Jeff, when it gets in, and then I'm going to make sure that Paul or somebody else goes out there and make sure it's put in the right place, and obviously following your guidance, for the, the proper spacing between that and the road.
Well, go ahead, Paul.
When you say other signs, I wasn't at that meeting.
Okay. So we had talked about that the parking signs, the no parking signs, we wanted to add more no parking signs.
Well, let's go back to the other first. So I was out there, and based on Ron Reagan's recommendation, I have 2 of those orange snow stakes up where the sign will go.
Okay.
So they're currently in place. You can look at that.
Okay.
And that's based off of the site triangle being able to get in and out of.
Oh, that's good.
Banffshire Preserve. So I took great pains to measure that out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the other thing, I took it upon myself. I know the parking wasn't working very well. If we can all imagine Banffshire Preserve, as you pull in, people would just pull in straight. They wouldn't turn to the left. They wouldn't turn to the right.
And they were blocking the bridge and not parking on the side where the handicap signs were.
So what I did was I took the initiative to talk to a Pennsylvania State Police trooper, and I ordered 2 signs that say head-in parking.
Okay.
So if you go in straight, the head-in parking will be to your left.
Yeah, that's where we want it, Jeff.
Over to the left. He suggested people are more visual, so I got the P with the slash through it for straight ahead and to the right. The other thing that he suggested that I did was take out those park stops on the right-hand side.
Oh, okay, and I did think that was probably people
Yeah.
saw those and thought.
That's,
So
that's excellent. Yeah.
all that was done and completed by noon today.
That's
Oh,
great,
awesome.
Jeff.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much.
That's great.
Okay, so once we have the trail machine, no pressure, Paul, it seems like Hampshire's will be all set.
And Paul, is this, I think I know the answer, but is this trail machine for maintenance or for new trails?
Maintenance. No one's proposing any new trails in Banffshire. I had mentioned that at the board meeting one time that we just need to do maintenance where some trails, the biggest spot is where a tree fell and took out the trail. And then some other areas where the drainage isn't appropriate. We want to recut it. So just maintenance, Jeff. It's like a weekend rental, like $400 or something.
Nope, I just wanted you to explain it so we could all hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of items that are time sensitive. I think we might have missed this window. We have not been able to get the stone around the trees and crossing. Paul, what's the long term? I know the voles are the issue and now the weeds are there. Is this something now we just have to wait?
So,
and get-
yeah, I was talking to Greg about it before he left, and he felt like it's not as big a risk in the summer because there's so much else for them to eat. You
Okay,
don't need to eat the bark off the trees. And that the winter is when it's more of a risk, but I hadn't heard that before. So he felt like waiting till fall would be good would be okay. But yeah, if we did it now, it would be better, I think.
okay,
But that would require weed whacking around each tree.
okay. And then I know Heather has the machine and Heather's not on the call, but if we could follow up with her and see if something we can maybe try to get scheduled for at least September at the latest. Try to get it
Well, I would say whenever Jeff decides to mow that area,
done. Okay,
like I think it was on the schedule before we planted trees for once or twice a year. And so I assume he'll still mow it once or twice a year, and then that's when we could put the stone.
Right, and just to be transparent, I talked to Greg Sachs before he left. He didn't feel Goodwin or Franklin Preserve needed to be done this spring, so I'm automatically gonna slate it for like September of this year. Unless Paul says, get it done sooner, I'm
No,
happy to do that.
whatever you want to do, Jeff.
okay, so if we could just make sure, I'll keep putting this on the agenda. If we could just make sure that when it gets mowed, then we try to reach out. Heather's not on the call, but I'll kind of just put her on alert that if we could probably try to line up her machine for some time right after the mowing.
Good.
Okay, the tubes we need replaced in Goodwin, that's still a project. I'm just gonna keep adding these, so hopefully maybe sometimes somebody gets to that. The watering the trees and crossing, Paul sent a text out saying they needed. I think after I talked to Jeff and we had said that it was a maintenance issue and he was gonna get the gentleman to water. I don't know if you guys got it, but we got a ton of rain right after that.
Well, just to let you know, we weren't taking any chances. I had marked out 4 trees that I thought were of concern. I marked them with an orange flag. And then last evening, before it rained, it was worthwhile to do.
Okay, no problem.
Each of those 4 trees got I call it a slow pour of 12 gallons each.
Oh, that's great, Jeff.
That's perfect. I think
So-
that the more the better.
Because I didn't get enough rain at my house to water the trees for sure. Like, no,
And
I don't live near Crossing Park, so they might have
And-
got different over there.
And I know the only reason I know it rained there is because there was a puddle on the tennis court.
So
At Skyline Drive, where I live, we got no rain.
no rain. But a comment just for the clarification for the public and for the supervisor is when he says water the trees, it was just the handful of larger trees that the Boy Scout planted and the memorial trees that people paid for. They're in distress and they needed water really bad. Like one has not leafed, 2 have not leafed out, and the one that has leafed out lost half its leaves, which is very scary. It's hard to recover from that.
Mhm.
But all the trees in the tubes, the little saplings, are in pretty good shape. They still have green leaves. And that's the idea of the tubes. It is like a little greenhouse that prevents the wind from drying out the trees. So they can survive a little bit longer without water. And hopefully we get some rain in time to save them.
Now, I guess let me put it this way. If you were to ask me, I would probably water those 4 distressed trees every 3 or 4 days until we get a rain. Now, I know Paul may have a different thought, and I would love to hear it.
I was gonna say once a week until you get rain, but since they're in such bad shape, yeah, a little bit extra wouldn't hurt.
So I have a proposal for watering those trees, and I'm not exactly sure where those 4 trees are, but my husband owns a water hauling business, and so I do have access to bulk water. Now, certainly, we don't need an entire tractor trailer load full, but we have a small water buffalo that we could. I don't know where the 4 trees are that need water.
They're in Crossing Park near the parking lots.
Right. So the lower parking lot, though, right? Because I know that there was a new one. No.
One is by the soccer field parking lot, and I saw 2 by the middle parking lot. I'll call that the baseball parking lot. And then Jeff, I don't know which other ones you picked.
Yeah, there's a 4th one between the middle parking lot out into the field, up more closer towards Dawn's bluebird boxes. So I went by my eye, and my common sense to say this tree's in distress. It doesn't have many leaves on it, and I marked it. So I found 4 of them.
So, Andrea, what is a water buffalo?
It's just a very small water trailer, essentially. I think it holds 500 gallons.
Oh, yeah. So like Jeff said, he did 12. I was going to say 10. A tree is awesome.
So if we could fill that with water and bring it down there, I'd probably need somebody to help me. This is a terrible time of year to get any sort of help from my husband. So I don't know. I don't know if anyone on the board would want to come help me water, or Jeff, even if you could show me where everything is, I can try and figure it out myself. But I can definitely,
Well, just the thought, because I'm just throwing this idea out, since it's only 4 trees. The gentleman that we have that closes the park is a pretty stout individual, and he's got a truck. So, he filled up 4 or 5 5-gallon buckets and just did it, and he got it done. He's a motivator. He's not someone that just.
So how long did it take him? Did we pay him for an hour or 2 hours, or what did we pay him for?
Paul, I'm going to say this. I will check with him, but to me, it's the time he spends is the time we pay him for. So
yeah, I think it's worth it.
So if I can get the water, if I can get, the 500 gallons down there, and closer to the trees, would he do that for us? Or do we think that the bulk water is not necessary? And did he just fill up from
I think he was filling up from the bathrooms. There's like a spigot on the outside.
Yeah, and Andrea, I think your idea would be a great one if we had all the trees in distress.
Right.
But with them being 4 right now, I personally don't think we need to go to that extent.
Yeah, and I want to save you, Andrea, if we need you for other stuff, which just keep that in mind when I talk to you in a minute. But when we plant the memorial trees, I think maybe in the future that might be a good idea, that right when we initially plant those memorial trees or any other trees, that we probably use that if you would be willing to do that for in the future. Because I think that was probably part of the problem, is we planted these trees and then, obviously Paul said that they seem like they're in distress. So maybe we keep that in mind for the future.
If we had got normal rain, you'd be fine. But we've been suffering. And so, Andrea, I'll say, like Jeff, if 4 trees, we'll just let the guy do it. But we probably have 12 or 15 trees out there between the Boy Scout and the memorial trees, and eventually they'll all be in distress. And so if that happens, if we don't get more rain, we'll need to do more watering, more extensive watering.
All right. Well, let's keep that option in mind. I'm happy to get it down there so that we can figure it out.
Yeah, and Andrea, I'd be actually happy to help you, in the future, like if it comes up, and then we just need to walk around and look for those trees. So,
okay, good.
Pray for rain. Okay, but now, Andrea.
I know.
Well, we need to appoint. We need a chair. So this is kind of new business, and I tried to persuade Paul, and he would not. Would you happen to be, or would anybody else be willing to be the chair?
Tell me what that entails.
It basically is the person who does everything Greg did, but not as much as Greg did. I don't know that it's possible to do as much as Greg did or Paul does. I don't know, Paul, do you have a better description?
Yeah, so like Jennifer was kind enough, and I think Andrea, maybe you helped her, just organize the agenda for tonight and get it to Jeff a few days before the meeting so they can be published. And then run the meeting like Jennifer's done so well tonight. I don't know why you don't want to be chair, Jennifer, but
I have an elderly parent who is in need, and it's just not a good time for me, but.
so she's done a great job tonight running the meeting. That's what it entails. And then the follow-up, like what happens in these organizations where we're just all volunteers. There's a lot of idea people, a lot of idea generation, like we should do this or this should get done. And someone needs to keep track of that and then try to assign somebody that task. So you're just the keeper of the tasks, where maybe you can, like you said, the watering, let's make sure Jeff gets the message, if he wasn't here, that he needs to get those trees watered, that type of stuff. Just follow up.
And then who attends the Board of Supervisor meetings?
So if you're nervous about attending that, I can do that for a while until you get comfortable, because I attend them anyway. Like I attended them with Greg to kind of support him. So I'm willing to give the report out. It doesn't have to be the chair that gives the report to the board. I can keep doing that.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily nervous of it. I think I can, I know I can do it. That's not my bigger concern, is the time commitment and
right.
Yeah.
And having small kids.
I've still got small kids, and so it's hard for me, I don't have any idea what they're doing right now, but I think they're probably fine. They're definitely not asleep. I know that.
And it's not meant for only one person to do. Like obviously we fill in and like.
Well, I would volunteer to be your co-chair.
Okay.
I mean, no, not co-chair. What's
Vice chair.
Vice chair. Vice chair.
Right. So Paul, you are the vice chair. So I was trying to move you up and you said no. So if Paul were to say vice chair, does anybody have any opposition to Andrea being the actual chair?
Gosh, thanks, Jen, so much for being in there.
I second.
And again, we can revisit this. I mean, I guess I'm only saying this is because like this is not a good time for me. I'm not saying that once if you're in it, Andrea, and you want to stay, but I mean, I think we kind of stuck Greg in there and he got stuck forever, but we could also revisit this every 6 months maybe, or maybe take turns. I also had talked to Greg about it shouldn't only have to be just one person doing the agenda. Obviously, I did the agenda with the help of Andrea and with great help from Kyle. Kyle is always great about sending me, I'll say, okay, I'm about to get the agenda ready. Paul sends me, a couple of things that he wanted to make sure it stayed on the agenda. Kyle goes through the minutes and she says, we need to come back. And she just kind of goes through that we need to return to this, return to this, return to this. So, and the only thing I did, Andrea, other than what you probably saw through text, was that I reached out to Jeff and just said, where did we leave off with this? Which makes the meeting just run a little faster because we could talk about the Canadian thistle, but Jeff is like, it's already done. Gotcha. So I only keep it on the agenda just so that I can let the rest of the board know that it's been completed. So.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to do that. I still feel, I have not been a member of the board very long. I still feel very green in a sense, but I'm happy to, take on that with the help of others.
Okay.
That's great.
Knowing that it is not an indefinite, it's not
indefinite. And once I have my mom moved and settled into her new place, I can help you even more. So, okay. So if we're okay with that, we're going to stick with Andrea as the chair and Paul as the vice chair.
Yeah, that's great. And Andrea, I think the biggest thing is when it's time to do the agenda, just send us all an email and say who has ideas. And like Jennifer said, just collect those ideas and talk to Kyle.
Gotcha.
So don't feel like you're on your own. Oh, I got to do this agenda by myself. So.
Okay. And not to scare you one more time. So the next thing Andrea do would be by next Tuesday or at the latest noon on Wednesday, which would be the preparation for the Board of Supervisors meeting. But I will definitely help you with that this week.
Okay.
And I'll show you the other things that I've prepared for the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, and if there are any sort of, and we can talk, offline about this, but if there are any sort of templates that are used for, the gathering the information for the Board of Supervisors meeting, the agenda, that I can
and
put together.
They could be like Greg made his very simple because he was attending the meeting, and his was almost just a mirror of his agenda. And if you've seen Greg's agendas, his Board of Supervisor paperwork looked just like that. but like I wasn't attending the meeting, so I filled in a lot of spots because people were covering for me to attend the Board of Supervisor meetings. Or I think one time Paul was attending the meeting, but had not been a thing, and then that way he had the information in front of him.
Okay.
Can I,
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it offline.
can I be a pain in the butt here?
Yes.
Could you guys, if you all agree, can I be a pain in the ass? Can you, Jen, can you call a motion and a vote to officially appoint Andrea so we can hear the ayes and the nays just to make it
Okay.
official? I know it's just
Sure.
a
No, I
process thing.
appreciate it. And we're a little loose, and I'm not actually officially the chair, so.
Well, we don't have one. You don't have one. So usually, so you're not, so in the Board of Supervisors, we have to do it differently, but it would just be nice to say, to have a.
I make a motion that we appoint Andrea Roberts as chair of the pro committee or the pro board and keep Paul Overton as the vice chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Any
Aye.
discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Did
Okay.
somebody say something in there?
I was just saying after the second, do discussion.
Oh, okay. Do we have any discussion before we? Okay, with no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then
Okay, thank you so much, Andrea.
Wait.
I'm so sorry. I put you under the,
you have to ask if there's any opposed in case you missed it.
okay, is there any opposition? This is why I cannot be the chair.
This is why I have them write it out for me.
Okay, learn from this, Andrea, learn from
I'm
this.
listening, I'm listening.
Okay, I do have one more motion. Our next upcoming meeting, and is my last official act of doing this meeting right now, is our next meeting is scheduled for July 5th. Is there any, I propose that we do not have a July meeting unless there's something urgent that
So
comes up.
I think that's a good idea for me. I'll vote for that, but I would also ask that maybe we can get together informally just to walk some of the trails or preserves because
I completely agree. I think it's been overdue. We haven't really been able to like actually see the status, and we keep talking about these trails we haven't seen.
yeah, and since we all started during the pandemic, or just the pandemic was shortly after we were formed, we haven't had much face time. So I propose maybe we'll have a walk the trail day sometime in July or late June.
Okay, and I think that's something we could just informally.
Yeah.
But does anybody have any opposition to not having a July meeting and just moving on to the August meeting? Do I have a second?
Do we have to vote on it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just in case for. And do I have a second? Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor of not having a July meeting?
You didn't ask if anyone was opposed. I just wrote in my notes, ask if anyone.
Okay. So I'm asking for in favor. Everyone should be in favor. Is there any opposition?
No.
Okay, so then the next meeting for Andrea to be the chair will be August. Okay, and then do we have any public comment?
Yeah, we have one more topic, Jennifer, and I don't remember what it was.
I know we had talked about getting out and looking at the trails and just seeing how the trails were doing.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to be chair, and I got Andrea to be chair.
I don't remember. All right. Well, no public comment, I guess.
Okay. Okay. All right. If we're all set, is anybody opposed to me adjourning? All right, then we will be adjourned. See everybody in August, or hopefully sooner in July, for.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks,
Right.
everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
take
you,
care.
everybody.
Bye.